are naturally getting into my fourth critical choice. And the fourth critical choice was to intentionally create my own community, create community and create belonging. For me, because I grew up, and you know this, I grew up without a sense of belonging. And I'm
Right.
not alone in that. Lots and lots and lots of people have experienced that through, I think all of us have experienced not belonging in some way or another. I held on to it so strongly that I don't belong. I actually wore like a badge of honor that I didn't need community. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't need anyone. I didn't need to belong. And you and I know that was a bunch of hogwash
Right.
because like you were saying, human beings, we are made to belong within a tribe.
Right.
So I went on my journey. I figured out that belonging requires action.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires, in my opinion, reciprocity,
Yes.
reciprocal action from me and action from you. So I want to get more of your perspective, both on community and belonging, but I'm going to flip it and I'll start with belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it feel like to not belong?
It's such an interesting question, and as you say, most of us have had those times in our life. I mentioned that I moved a lot when I was growing up, and most of those moves were okay. I figured it out, but there was one time in particular with junior high school, which is the seventh circle of hell for most of us, I think. Um, when I was in a town where I just did not fit in, I didn't belong. I made some basic social mistakes that got me ostracized, and I really felt alone. And if not for very supportive parents, who I don't think they realized how alone I felt, but I knew that they were there for me. Although they were divorced, they were both there for me. My dog, God love my dog, who was there, and I played James Taylor and Carole King albums till they wore out, and that was very comforting music. Um, and so I know what it felt to be very much alone. But I think what I carried forward from that, well, first of all, was the next time we moved, and thank goodness we did move when we did. I was not going to let that happen again. But the trick then is not just to fit in, but it's being able to show up as you and belong, right? 'Cause you shape shift so that you're sort of camouflaged and you feel like you fit in, but you're not really showing up. That's just a different kind of being alone. But how do you actually be able to show up as yourself,
Yeah.
and be strong enough to be individual and uh, and feel accepted and loved and cared for, and that you are part of a community, part of that community where you're giving as well. And so that was, I think looking back on timing, it was very fortunate for my trajectory that we happened to, by chance, move again when we did. So I moved to a better place. But I've always now, as much as I have a strong introverted side as well as I have to be an extrovert out speaking, try and be very cognizant of who's not fitting in the room and how do I help them fit in? How do I reach out, be the person who reaches out and say, hey, come on over here, let's grab a cup of coffee, or bring them into a conversation that is. So that's. I'm always aware of that.
And you're intentional.
I'm intentional about that. Intentional about that. Not sometimes awkward, but always intentional.
Yeah, yeah, because then I also think so sometimes we get blocked by fear of rejection. I
Right.
think I'm like, oh, does this person want me to? Are they going to think that like there's all this crap around us that blockades or becomes a barrier of just making that choice to go and invite that person. One thing I got to say this because you use the terminology shape shifter, and I'm going to put that in my pocket because I did that my whole until I was in my 30s.
Hmm.
I belonged by being a chameleon. Like, what 30? Oh, I need to smoke pot and listen to punk rock. Then because I want to be a part of this group. But that even went into my professional life too, not smoking pot and listening to punk rock
That's a
music.
heck of a group.
But and yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I want to work where you work. But I appreciate that because I think oftentimes still in being incredibly healthy mentally, spiritually, all the things, I can still come into a situation thinking about shape shifting and have to be cognizant of that, and in an appropriate way bring Trish, just bring Trish. And so I think about that often. Tell me a little bit about some of the communities that you're a part of.
So I'm very much part of my geographic community, and one of the things I like best about the place where I live is that there are a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and it's a dense urban area, which people think of as, oh, nobody wants to talk to each other. Well, we all want to talk to each other, and I again give credit to the dogs because dog walking is a great way to meet people. But just neighbor helping neighbor, shoveling during the winter, and those kind of things. So that is one community. I'm part of the community of birders, and so when I go out, if I'm out walking and I've got a pair of binoculars and someone else does, we start talking to almost official, just instantly about what we're seeing and what we're thinking, and there's a bond there. But I think one of the more powerful communities, and this goes to again what's over my shoulder there, the work I do at the National Preparedness Leadership Initiative, which we were just talking the other day. We're having a discussion about are we just another executive education program or not, or what makes us different. And one of the things that came out, which I saw right away, was we're a family, and that we never let go of the people who come through our program. And these are people who are making, they're out saving lives, they're out making tough decisions, and yet more than 1,000 people who've been through the program, and we are in touch. We are always in touch, and just again, and helping each other is part of community, right? Is of helping each other. Just in the last couple of weeks, someone reached out and said, "Hey, I've got a way to deliver potable water. Do you know somebody who can help me get this thing into Gaza?" It's like, yeah, I think I do. And I reach over and make this connection to that person. Say, you two need to talk to each other. Retired police officer who's now working on, because of a death of a relative, working on reducing the rate of cervical cancer in the military, which there's a higher than normal incidence of this for a bunch of reasons. He said, so can you help? Do you have any ideas? Yeah, I know this person and that person and that person. Let's make that connection. Let's make it go. And so that's the stuff I really love about my work. And I also know that any city in this country I show up in, I am one or we're most 2 phone calls away from people who are going to say, hey, let's grab a burger and a beer. Let's go. I want to, sit down with you. And so it is
Awesome.
this family, and it is, again, it's people who are helping people. It's the helpers, as Fred Rogers talked about. It's the helpers out there who are there for each other, there for us all. And I'm really fortunate to have become part of that community, quite through the accidental story we told earlier about becoming a writer and then teacher.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast, or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.